Jack is a federal detective who has been assigned to investigate a missing persons case on an isolated island. It is said that the island houses a mental hospital where violent offenders with psychiatric disorders are kept. To avoid any incidents, the headquarters has also assigned him an assistant, Pete. However, as soon as Jack sets foot on the island, he senses something is wrong. The guards on the island are serious, their eyes fixed on them as if escorting criminals. Even Pete, his assistant, seems a bit strange. He says he has been a police officer for many years, but when handing over his weapon, he fumbles with the gun in an awkward manner. Looking around at the patients on the island, Jack notices they are all behaving strangely, clearly not normal. Everything about the island leads Jack to suspect that the seemingly simple place is actually far from peaceful. The two men find the director of the hospital to inquire about the details of the missing person case. However, several eerie paintings on the wall catch Jack's attention. The director explains that these paintings represent the hospital's earliest method of treating violent patients, lobotomizing them to turn them into obedient machines. However, after the introduction of drug treatments, the hospital ceased this cruel practice. Yet there are still patients who do not follow the medication regimen, which worsens their condition. The director also shows Jack the patient's admission record, which details the patient's history. Several years ago, he had drowned his 3 children due to his mental illness. Next, Jack and Pete visit Annie's room for an investigation. In the floor's attic, Pete discovers 2 pairs of shoes, but each patient in the hospital is only allowed a maximum of 2 pairs. This suggests that Annie may have gone missing barefoot. However, the island is surrounded by sharp rocks, making it impossible to travel far without shoes. As a result, Jack decides to conduct a full island search with the help of the guards. However, the guards on the island do not seem particularly anxious and appear somewhat casual. Only Jack remains fully focused on his investigation. He keenly notices a lighthouse in the distance. The guard informs him that it is part of the hospital's drainage system, but Jack is suspicious. Why are there prison guards stationed there? As the day fades and Annie still cannot be found, Jack turns his attention to the medical staff. He decides to gather all the medical personnel for a meeting to see if any new clues emerge. However, the director seems reluctant to cooperate. After Jack's repeated requests, the director finally agrees. Indeed, Jack uncovers a key clue from the medical staff. The missing patient, Annie, had undergone psychological treatment before her disappearance. Jack decides to meet with Annie's attending physician, but the director tells him that the doctor is on vacation. Although Jack is puzzled, the director does not provide further explanation, merely emphasizing that it is normal for the doctor to be on vacation. Due to the storm, there is no phone signal, and Jack is unable to contact the doctor on leave. Reluctantly, Jack gives up on this lead and starts asking several patients. However, their answers are eerily identical. It isn't until he meets a female patient that there is a breakthrough. Initially, the woman is very cooperative, but when Jack asks about the attending physician, her attitude changes. She asks Pete to get her a glass of water. However, as soon as Pete leaves, the woman suddenly grabs Jack's notebook and writes something.